Now, so firstly, we're going to start off with solving second and 330. Now, first we need to find its terminal points. So the terminal points for this will be square root of 3 over square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1/2. So using the terminal points, what we need to do is to find the exact point of second 330 is by using its formula, which is 1 over x. So that now we'll substitute, and that equals 1 over square root of 3 over 2. We have now, because it's division, what we have to do now is find the reciprocal of the denominator and then multiply it with the numerator. So this will become 1 over 1 times reciprocal 2 over square root of 3. And this just equals 2 square root of 3. So when you have a radicand as your denominator, what you want to do is to multiply the top and the bottom with the radicand. So it'll be 2 over square root of 3 times square root of 3 over 3. And this just equals to 2 square root of 3 over 3.
Cosecant of 7 pi over 4. Basically, this is equivalent to cosecant of 315 degrees. And the terminal points of this is square root of 2 over 2 and negative square root of 2 over 2. And since cosecant is equivalent to 1 over y, we just need to substitute, and it will end up as 1 over negative square root of 2 over 2. But since this is a division of fractions, we need to find the reciprocal of the denominator. And since 1 is a whole number, it will have the same amount or value as 1 over 1 times, since we're looking for the reciprocal, it will turn into negative 2 over square root of 2. And since the denominator has a root, we need to rationalize, and it will end up as negative 2 over square root of 2 times negative square root of 2 over square root of 2, which is equivalent to negative 2 square root of 2 over 2. And since there's like a common integer, or like the denominator is the same, we have to cancel it out, and we're left with negative square root of 2.
So we are tasked with finding tan of 300 degrees. To find tan of 300 degrees, we'd first need to find the terminal points of 300 degrees. Now the terminal points to that is 1/2 and negative square root of 3 over 2. Now, to find tan of 300, tan is found by y over x. Now, we just need to do simple substituting then. This is our y and this is our x. So, that would equate to negative square root of 3 over 2 over 1/2. Now, we divide these fractions, but because it's a division of fractions, we can simply just find the reciprocal of the denominator and multiply it to our y. So that would be negative square root of 3 over 2 multiplied by 2 over 1. And when we multiply that would be 2 multiplied by square root of 3 over 2. Now, because we have similar integers, which are 2, we can simply cross that out, and we'll have our final answer, which is negative square root of 3.
We have cosine of 0 degrees plus tangent of 45 degrees plus sine of 90 degrees. How do we get the exact value of this equation? First of all, let's go with the easy route first and find the cosine of 0 and the sine of 90. We know that the terminal points of 0 are 1, 0, and the terminal points of 90 are 0, 1. Using this, we can substitute the exact values for cosine and sine. Sine is equal to y, and our cosine is equal to x. Now we can substitute the values for cosine of 0 and sine of 90. Cosine of 0 is the x value of the degree, and our x value for 0 is 1. So we can write cosine of 0 equals 1. Then we can solve for sine of 90. And since sine is our y value, and our y value here is 1, we can say that sine of 90 equals 1. So now we have two of the values here. Let's solve for tan 45. The terminal points of 45 degrees are square root of 2 over 2 and the square root of 2 over 2. And because tan is equal to y over x, we can simply substitute y and x in this equation. So tan 45 equals y over x, and we can substitute y and x. So this will be square root of 2 over 2 over square root 2 over 2. If you notice here, we have fractions and a fraction, which is simply the division of fractions. An easy way to do division of fractions is to cross multiply or to find the reciprocal of the denominator and multiply. For this example, I will just cross multiply. So we have square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 2. Then we cross multiply. 2 times square root of 2 is 2 square root of 2, and 2 times square root of 2 is also 2 square root of 2. Notice how there are the same values here, 2 square root of 2 and 2 square root of 2, which means we can cancel all this out, which equals to 1. Now that we have the values of cosine of 0, sine of 90, and tan of 45, we can substitute. Cosine of 0 is 1, plus tan of 45, which is also 1, and sine of 90, which is also 1. And our final answer for cosine 0 plus tan 45 plus sine of 90 is 3. For our next example, we have to find For this next example, we have to find each of the circular functions, including sine, cosine, tangent, cosine, secant, and cotangent of 4 pi over 3. The terminal points for 4 pi over 3 is negative 1 over 2 and negative square root of 3 over 2. Let's first write down each of the circular functions. Sine is equal to y, cosine is equal to x, tangent is equal to y over x, cosecant is equal to 1 over y, secant is equal to 1 over x, and cotangent is equal to x over y. Now we can simply substitute. To find the sine of 4 pi over 3, we substitute y with our y value, which is negative square root of 3 over 2. For cosine, it is x, so we substitute our x value, which will be negative 1 over 2. Next is our tan, which is y over x. Again, we can simply substitute. So we have our y is negative 3, or negative square root of 3 over 2, over our x, which is negative 1 over 2. Because this is a division of fractions, we can simply cross-multiply both of the values. So for here, negative square root of 3, we copy the numerator, and then copy the denominator, negative 1/2. And then we cross-multiply. So 2 times negative square root of 3 is just 2 times negative square root of 3. And negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Since we have a common denominator here of 2, we can cancel this out. And since we also have common denominator of negative 1, since we can see this as negative 1, we can also cancel that out, which gives our final answer of square root of 3. Now we have cosecant, which is 1 over y. Since we know that cosecant is just 1 over y, we can substitute. So 1 over our y value is negative square root of 3 over 2. Because this is a division of fractions, we can simply copy the numerator and find the reciprocal of the denominator, since it would be easier than cross-multiplying because we have a whole number. So since our 1 here is a whole number, we can simply rewrite that as 1 over 1 to represent it as a fraction. And the reciprocal of negative square root of 3 over 2 is negative 2 square root of 3, which, since it's multiplied by 1, is the same. So now, this isn't our final answer, since we have a denominator that's a radical. So to solve this, we have to rationalize the equation by multiplying both sides by our denominator, which is square root of 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9, which can still be reduced further to 3. And then we just multiply negative 2 and square root of 3, and this is our final answer. Now we have secant. Secant is the same process, except instead of y, we have x, so equals to 1 over x. We substitute, this will be 1 over negative 1 over 2. And then we follow the same process as cosecant. You have 1 over 1 times reciprocal of negative 1 over 2, which is 2 over negative 1. Oh no, this has to be negative 2 over 1. If you have a numerator fraction, or if you have a numerator that's a negative and you find the reciprocal, the numerator must retain as a negative. So since this is multiplied by 1, we can simply write this as negative 2 over 1. And since the denominator is 1, we can rewrite this as negative 2. Lastly, for cotangent. Cotangent is x over y. So we simply substitute. Our x there is negative 1 over 2, and our y is negative square root 3 over 2. Again, division of fractions, we copy the numerator and find the reciprocal of the denominator, which is 2 or negative 2 times square root of 3. Now we can multiply negative 1 times negative 2. Because it's a negative times a negative, this will turn into positive 2. Over 2 times square root of 3 is simply 2 square root 3. Again, we have a denominator that's a radical, so we have to rationalize the equation. So we multiply both sides by square root of 3, which will turn into 2 square root 3 over 2 times square root of 9 is 3. So then we can just multiply 2 and 3, so this will become 2 square root 3 over 6. We can still simplify this, however, by reducing this fraction to lowest term. We can reduce this to square root of 3 over 2 divided by 6 is 3. And there's our final answer for cotangent.